Welcome back to another video with more ways to celebrate. Today I've got 3 big projects for you. First we're going to make a wreath, then these no-sew pillow covers, and then finish it off with a cute patriotic shirt and matching bow for your little firecracker. So stay tuned and keep watching. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me and you're new here, I'm SarahBeth Campbell and I am the content creator at Southern Meets Mennonite. So today I've created a little shortcut to the right of your screen that you can see a menu of all 4 projects that we're doing. If you want to skip ahead to any of those, feel free to do that with the time marker listed. First up, we have our Firecracker Wreath. So I am actually using a Dollar Tree pool noodle to form this, and I just cut a little bit off, taped it together. Hot glue does not work, FYI, so just use a good tape that will hold it together. Then I'm using this red cord. I actually picked this up at Goodwill in a pack. Always check the craft section of Goodwill. There is good stuff for all you craft hoarders. And I just started wrapping a small section of this on the wreath. I didn't want the whole thing red, but I just wanted a little accent to go with it. I made sure to scrunch everything down as best as I could and then just taped off the end. To cover the rest, I used a burlap that I folded in half, and I'm securing everything today using straight pins, just like pushing them down into styrofoam. The pool noodle works great for that, so I can use this wreath again and again and just pull the things right off. Once I finished wrapping, I just secured this again with another straight pin, and I really just liked the simplicity that the pool noodle form gave it, and I have so many more ideas of the way I could use this. But y'all, please don't tell my child that I stole her pool noodle, okay? Thanks. Anytime I want to repurpose this, it'll be so easy to recover that red if I don't like it, or maybe I'll even keep it depending on what I do. So next, with the little piece that I cut off from the noodle, I'm going to make our firecracker. I'm just going to take some scrap fabric, hot glue it on, and make sure that the edges are covered. One edge I used a little bit more material to make sure that was covered, since that one would be showing. And as you see, the next edge, I didn't mind if a little bit of the red was showing because our topper would be covering that. To make the topper for our firecracker, I'm just using a 12 by 12 sheet of scrapbook paper with some silver sparkles. I'm drawing a circle using a Cool Whip container. Use what you have, and I'm just going to cut the circle out and create a cone. Once my circle was cut, I just used a pin to find the approximate center and then cut a slit up the center. I wrapped it together to create that cone shape, and I wasn't quite happy with the way that looked, and I wanted to make it a little bit wider, so what I did was just adjust my slit. There's no scientific process to this, and I kind of made it up as I went. My advice is to just do what looks best for your firecracker. Once I was happy, I just hot glued that together, and it was ready to adhere onto the firecracker with more hot glue. And now I'm going to make the end of the firecracker, again using a 12 by 12 sheet of scrapbook paper and some red polka dots and my beloved French scissors. So I just went down each side of this with my French scissors and Frenched it up. Again, I did not try to stay even with this. I just kind of did it as I go. Imperfections bring character as far as I'm concerned. So once I fringed both sides, then I just folded it in half lengthwise. Then using more hot glue, I ran some across the top and rolled it over and attached it to my firecracker body. To hide the top, I took some ribbon and hot glued around the edge just to give it a nice finish. Now I'm just going to attach that cone to the top with more hot glue. Just make sure on this part that you're lining up your back seams so that everything looks nice from the front view. And now to attach it to the wreath, I'm just using stripe pins again and sticking them right on. These worked great, and I'm excited because I'll be able to take it off after the 4th and repurpose this somewhere in my house. And now to add a little pizzazz thanks to the Target dollar spot, here are some battery operated starlights that I'm going to use straight pins and attach right to the wreath. By the way, want to know why I add music and not play you the real background? Because this is what's happening in the middle of my crafting. Hello mom life, hello real world. Just thought I'd give you a little taste of what I get to listen to as I craft. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. Once I was happy with the way that these stars were arranged, I thought I was done, but I ended up moving my firecracker down a little bit. As you can see, I just taped those batteries right on the back where I could easily turn them on and off. I thought this turned out really cute, and I was pretty much happy with it at this point, but I thought that it needed a little something extra, so I grabbed some scrap ribbon and threw together a quick bow. A little tip from my grandma: always fluff your bows, and when you want to get those nice bead edges, you just fold the ribbon in half lengthwise. Then you take some nice sharp fabric scissors and you want to cut up on an angle. That way when you open it up, you have that nice V shape that you're looking for. I went ahead and fixed this side because it looked a little rough from whatever project it was used last in. So I'll show you that again. You just cut up on an angle, and when you open up, then it's symmetrical and even and gives a nice finish to your bow. I mean, what good southern wreath isn't accompanied with a bow, y'all? So this is our finished product. It's pretty simple, but I think it's turned out really cute. And I went ahead and I hung this on the inside on my double pane window half chalkboard and added a little bit of chalk art. I was super impressed that I was able to do this with pretty much all scraps except for those lights that I found at Target. So grab a pool noodle, steal it from your child, or you can get it for $1 at the Dollar Tree and make some magic happen this 4th of July. Next up, I've got these really simple no-sew pillow covers that I again used some scrap fabric. I'm guessing on the larger one you're going to want about a yard of fabric, and I am just repurposing some old throw pillows that I had. You'll want to tuck the top and the bottom together to cover the pillow, and then you scrunch in the one side and use an elastic hair tie. Just tie it semi-tight. I just did it twice around so that I could tuck the other side. You kind of want to fold in those corners so you get nice sharp edges, and then you just tuck that edge right under that elastic. Do a little fluffing, and there you have it. I'll show you it one more time. Fold up the bottom and the top edges and pull tight. Make sure also that if you're using a checkered or lined fabric like I am, that it is wrapped even. Then you want to just make sure you have nice and tight corners on the edges. Fold it over to make a sort of triangle, and then you'll use that elastic again to tie it down. Again, I wrapped this around 2 times so it was tight, but that I could still stuff more fabric in from the other side. And now folding over the other edge, I just took the end of that and tucked it right in to that elastic and just pulled it over so I hid all the edges right inside. A little fluffing goes a long way when you're wrapping these, but once you have it set, you're done. Now for the smaller pillow, I probably used about a ½ yard of fabric. This has longer edges, so I'm going to be able to tie this in a half knot. Then I'll tuck in the edges on either side. I'll be showing you again in a slower time frame so that I can show you all the details. But the same concept, fluff your corners, pull tight, and you've got a nice wrapped pillow. So just like the first, you're going to make sure everything's even, fold up the top and the bottom. Then you'll scrunch together those 2 ends and tie it into a half knot. And as you'll see here, I have one piece going towards the top and the other going towards the bottom. So I'll just wrap that down and tuck that to one side. So that time I went right, and then I'll flip that up and then tuck it towards the other side going left. That way you have even sides. Then you'll just want to fluff that center knot out to hide any kind of knot, and you're finished. Okay, I thought these are a really easy and simple way to dress up any of your throw pillows for seasonal decor. You don't even need a sewing machine, and you can change this out as many times as you want. Moving on to probably my favorite craft of this video, and that is some 4th of July shirts that I made for the girls. If you are choosing not to do the hand applique portion of this with the stitching, you can totally skip this step. I am applying a stabilizer, and I'm using the Sulky brand to the front side of this shirt. I've actually turned it inside out, and I'm just measuring off a little piece. This stabilizer is going to keep this knit from stretching as I'm making my hand stitches. That way they stay in place and stay in the right form when I'm done. You see here, the part that is stabilized doesn't stretch at all. To adhere my fabric to the shirt, I'll be using Heat and Bond. There are 2 kinds, a red and a purple package. One is for sewing, one is for not sewing. So be sure that if you are not going to sew this, that you use the red package. Using the pattern pieces that I'll link below for free on the blog, I'm just going to make sure that my pieces of fabric here that I'm using are the appropriate size. I'll iron out each piece to make sure there are no wrinkles, and when they're all set, I'll take my piece of Heat and Bond. As you can see, there's a shiny side and there's a matte side. Make sure you place these pieces on the shiny side. Then you'll just take a medium iron, no steam, and iron them right on. Next, you'll just flip it over to that matte papery side and trace your pattern pieces right on the back. Be sure that you flipped it over because it will be backwards as you cut it. Once you have everything traced, then you'll just go ahead and cut around your lines that you made. A little tip from my art teacher back in elementary school: always turn the paper, not the scissors, when you cut. It'll make cutting out these little corners way easier. Now you're ready to iron on your pieces onto your shirt. I used my grid ruler to line everything up and make sure that it was centered, and you'll just want to peel off that paper backing and you're ready to iron. Just a reminder, I do have that stabilizer under there. You can see that white square. If you're not going to sew and you're using the red Heat and Bond, you do not need the stabilizer. So at this point, once you're done ironing on, you would be finished. However, I'm going to load it up onto the embroidery hoop and get it ready for stitching. I hope in the future to make a more in-depth video on hand applique. This is actually something that my mother-in-law does when she quilts, so I'm just learning myself. But your basic supplies are the embroidery hoop, this embroidery thread that I did in red and blue that matched my fabric, and then a pack of embroidery needles. Now embroidery thread comes in 6 strands, so as you can see I just removed 2 of them, so I have 4 strands left. I'll go ahead and thread my needle. And the reason I do 4 strands is because it's just easier to work with these needles. The hand stitch that I'm creating here is called a blanket stitch. It's really simple and it gives a nice effect on the outline of your images. Now I'll link a video that's more detailed in teaching you this because I am by no means an expert. But I have a feeling if you watch me do it a couple of times, you'll get the hang of it pretty quick. It's quite simple, and just remember that you can always go back and pull your stitch tight as you go. And once I'm finished, I'll just turn it around and knot it really well and trim the end. Now at this point, I am finished with all of the stitching. I slowed it down for you one more time so you could see a little more detail in how I'm creating this stitch. To finish this off, I'm attaching a little bow that I tied from some ribbon with my needle and thread. Now I already had this out, so I went ahead and hand sewed it on, but you could also glue it on with hot glue or the liquid stitch. Next, I'll just take this tearaway stabilizer off. As you can see, I had a little bit of difficulty getting this. This was just some that I had in my stash, so I don't even know what brand it is. However, I do know that the Sulky brand that I showed you earlier does work a lot better. And last, to finish it off, just make your mama proud and iron out those wrinkles, girl. Y'all, I think this might become my new obsession. I just love how these turned out. They're sweet and they're simple, and they're going to last through washes. I hope you'll be willing to try it out with or without the stitches. Our last project is going to be that stars and stripes fabric bow that matches our shirts. I'm using 3 long strips of fabric that I cut, and I'll list the dimensions here on the side for you. Once you have your pieces cut, you'll just fold over about 1/4 of an inch on each strip lengthwise and iron that over. Now fold each of your longer strips over into thirds and give it a quick press to hold in place. Place the smaller one on top of the larger one and make sure the folded ends are behind. Then you'll take a needle and some thread and make large basting stitches going across the front. As you stitch, you'll pull to gather and create the pleats in the bow. When you're finished, just tie it off on a knot and wrap it around for extra support. To finish the bow off, just take that smaller strip and fold it in half, and then place it right around that crease and use some hot glue to seal it off. Then you'll use whatever clip you're going to use and hot glue it onto the back of your bow. And you're finished. Now you have a sweet little bow to match your shirt to dress up your little firecrackers this 4th of July. I paired this outfit with a little tulle skirt from Walmart, and this couldn't have been cuter. My models really enjoyed the camera, y'all. Look at these smiles and these poses. They were so excited for their YouTube debut. That's a wrap on our 4th of July crafting. I hope you enjoyed what you saw today and that you'll try out at least one of these projects. And when you do, be sure to tag me on social media and let me know what you've created. Don't forget to visit the link below to grab your free printable download of that popsicle pattern for the shirt. And also, do me a favor, hit subscribe so you can stay up to date on all of our new releases and help our channel grow. And guys, again, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for watching today, and until next time, happy crafting and happy celebrating.